I'm not really one for dive bars, but that night, we weren't exactly being picky. It was late. We were road tripping back from a concert 3 towns over when our designated driver, my buddy Nate, realized he was too tired to keep going. We were in the middle of nowhere with no motels in sight, so when we saw a flickering neon bar sign off the main road, it felt like a decent place to regroup. Just a quick drink, we said. Maybe ask for directions. Nothing more. The place was called The Last Call. The name felt too on the nose for a roadside joint, but we were tired and curious, so in we went. Inside, it was quiet. No music, just the hum of an old jukebox that wasn't playing, and the creak of floorboards under our boots. The lighting was dim, too dim, and there weren't any windows. It looked like the kind of place that hadn't changed in decades. Wood paneling, red vinyl stools, and dust that clung to the bottles like cobwebs. The bartender didn't speak when we entered. He just nodded. He looked still, like someone had paused him mid-movement. Tall, wiry, pale skin, and a face that felt slightly off, like it had been molded to almost look human. We grabbed a booth near the back. There were no menus, no signs of a kitchen. When the bartender finally approached, he didn't ask what we wanted. He just said, "Drinks are on the house tonight. House special." Then he handed us glasses filled with something deep red. No smell, no ice. Just red. Nate raised his glass. 2 weird pit stops, he joked. We all drank. It tasted like nothing. Not bad, not good, just blank. But almost instantly, the air in the bar shifted. It felt heavier, colder. I remember looking at my phone and seeing the time, 11:57 p.m. Then the bartender said it, his first full sentence. "Whatever happens, don't answer your phone after midnight." We laughed, we thought it was part of the vibe, but something in his voice. It wasn't a joke, he wasn't warning us. He was reminding us. We should have left then, but we stayed. At 12:01, Maya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She picked it up before any of us could stop her. "Hello," she said. Then she went completely still, her mouth hung open like she was about to scream. But no sound came out. Her eyes locked onto something behind me. I turned to look, but there was nothing. Just the bar, same as before. But when I looked around again, the place had changed. Slightly, the furniture was older. The jukebox was missing. The mirror behind the bar was cracked. And there were people, new people. A couple in 1950s attire, a man in a military uniform, a woman with a beehive haircut sobbing quietly into her hands. They weren't there before. Maya was gone. Not like she ran off, she just wasn't there anymore. We shouted for her, checked the bathrooms, asked the bartender what was happening. He just said, "She answered the call." Then he looked at each of us slowly and added, "You've been served. Now you stay until your time is called." We ran to the door. It wouldn't open. We broke the windows. There was only brick behind them. Time got weird after that. Our phones stopped working. No clocks, no signal. Some of the people we saw would talk to us. Most didn't. They were stuck in loops, repeating the same conversation, the same gestures over and over, trapped in moments that seemed like their last. We met a man who said he'd been there since 1982. Another claimed he never made it to his bachelor party. And every so often, someone's phone would ring. If they answered, they vanished. If they didn't, they just waited. Nate answered his. He's gone now. It's just me, writing this down on bar napkins I found in the corner booth, hoping someone might find them. Maybe I'll hide them behind the jukebox. That thing seems to move around. If you ever see a bar called The Last Call on some quiet stretch of road, don't go in. And if you do, don't answer your phone after midnight. I used to bartend at this mid-sized spot in downtown Austin. Not a huge club, not a dive either. Just one of those places with decent cocktails, low lighting, and a regular crowd. I worked the Friday night shift for almost 2 years. And after a while, you start to recognize the regulars. One of them was a girl we call Green Jacket. I never learned her real name. She came in almost every Friday around 9 p.m., always alone, always wearing the same oversized green army-style jacket. She wasn't chatty, but polite. Ordered one drink, usually something simple, and nursed it for an hour or two while scrolling on her phone or just people watching. She never got sloppy, never flirted, and never brought friends. Honestly, she was one of the easiest customers we had. I always assumed she just needed a place to unwind after the week. But then there was him. I first noticed him maybe a month after she started showing up regularly. A clean-cut guy, average height, button-down shirt, kind of forgettable. That was the point, I think. He blended in too well. He never ordered more than one drink, sat at the far end of the bar, sometimes near the window, didn't talk to anyone, didn't even look like he was waiting for someone. But I caught him watching her. Subtle, never obvious, always just behind her or across the room. She never seemed to notice. Then came the night everything changed. It was a quiet Friday, not many people around. Green Jacket came in around her usual time. She seemed off, kept checking her phone more than usual, looking at the door like she was expecting someone. Half an hour later, he showed up, but this time, instead of keeping his distance, he sat right next to her. They started talking. At first, it looked casual. She didn't seem scared, just curious maybe, like she'd seen him around and decided to finally say something. After about an hour, they got up together and walked out the front door. That was the last time I saw her. A few days passed, then a week. I figured she'd just changed up her routine. It wasn't until a detective showed up asking about surveillance footage that I realized something was wrong. Apparently her roommate had reported her missing that same weekend. No one had seen her since that night. Her phone was off, credit cards untouched. They found her jacket at a park a few miles away, but no other sign of her. The footage clearly showed her walking out with that guy. No struggle, no signs of distress, just two people leaving a bar. The scariest part, we never got his name. He paid in cash, didn't talk to anyone else, there were no prints on the glass, nothing. Months later, I saw a news report about a similar case. Different city, different woman, same kind of setup. Alone at a bar, approached by a quiet guy, disappears without a trace. That's when it hit me. It wasn't random. This guy had a pattern. He'd done it before. He probably did it again. Now, every time I see someone sitting alone at a bar, I wonder if someone's watching them too. Not for a drink, not for a conversation, but for something far more calculated. I travel for work more than I'd like to admit. Same chain hotels, same airport bars, same lonely dinners eaten while scrolling through emails. So when I found myself at a hotel just outside of Denver, I didn't expect anything different. I had a long day of client meetings and decided to wind down with a drink at the lobby bar. It was late, close to 11, and the place was mostly empty except for a man seated 2 stools over. He gave me a nod as I sat down, the kind you give someone you recognize but don't quite know. "Rough day?" he asked, gesturing at my loosened tie. "Something like that," I replied, not really in the mood to talk. But he had one of those voices. Calm, steady, the kind that draws you in before you realize it. He told me his name was Kyle, said he was in town for a conference. We talked sports, then travel. He asked if I had kids, a wife. I said no. He smiled like he already knew the answer. Looking back, I don't remember ordering a second drink, but there it was, in front of me. I took a sip, then another. The conversation turned strange. He started bringing up things, personal things, my hometown, the fact that I'd recently gotten out of a long relationship, even where I'd gone to college. How do you know all that? I asked, trying to play it cool. He smiled. You'd be surprised what people put online. It's all out there. You just have to know where to look. I laughed nervously, but something in me tensed. I stood up, pretending I had an early morning. That's when I reached for my phone and realized it was gone. Not in my pocket, not on the bar. I checked my jacket, my bag, nothing. I turned to Kyle, but his stool was empty. He was gone. So was my room key. I went to the front desk to get a new one, but they couldn't find my reservation. My name wasn't in the system. I showed them my ID, but the clerk just shook her head and said, "Sorry, sir, we don't have you in our records." It was like I never checked in. They asked if I might be at one of their other locations, but I'd booked this room myself. I was sure of it. I spent the next 2 hours on hold with the booking app and my bank. My room had been paid for, then refunded, without my knowledge. My email showed a cancellation I never made. At 2 a.m., exhausted and confused, I sat in the parking lot trying to make sense of it. Then my phone buzzed. It was back in my pocket, like it had been there the whole time. The screen was unlocked, open to a note I hadn't written. Just one sentence. You should be more careful who you talk to when you're alone. I never saw Kyle again. But sometimes, when I'm in another bar, another city, I'll feel that same chill at the back of my neck. And I'll wonder how many others have met him. And how many never realized they were being studied.